Hey guys, what's up? It's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm making a video talking about construction management, which was what I majored in at Cal Poly. I made a video last week talking about the pros and cons of Cal Poly, and a few people asked me to make a video about construction management and just hearing more about the major. So I decided I'd make it. I thought about doing one for a long time, but I feel like it's not a very common major. Like, I had never heard of it until I majored in it. But if the interest is out there and people want to hear about it, I'd love to talk about it. I can really only speak to Cal Poly's program. I just graduated at the end of 2019. It took me 4 years and a quarter to graduate, but that wasn't because like the major or anything like that. I do know a lot of people who do take a little bit longer than 4 years to graduate in the major, but I think it's just like depending on like personally what's going on in your life and how you want to like prioritize school and what else you have going on. If you switch into the major, it might take you a little bit longer, but my sister changed into the major and she could graduate early if she wanted to. The first thing I want to talk about is actually like what job you would get with a construction management major, because when I was starting as a freshman and honestly into probably like my second year, I had no idea what a job in the industry would look like. I didn't know if like I would be the one out there like hammering or like really what I was gonna do. And there are definitely many different routes you can take, and this isn't the only route to take if you want to get this job. But the most common job that most people come out with is you become a project engineer, which then you become a project manager after around 5 years of being an engineer. It's not like you're a certified engineer. I know like people who I know are engineers. You end up like you have to take a test, and so you get your like engineering stamp. I don't know that much about it, but the title is just project engineer, but you're not like a certified engineer, if that makes sense. That is what I am right now. And I'm hoping to at some point become a project manager. Another route you can go with this job is to become a superintendent, which the project managers and engineers are more on the office side, and a superintendent is in the field, so you would be interacting with carpenters and laborers a lot more. Most people work for a general contractor. There are people who go and work for subcontractors, and there are different sectors that you can work in. Like you could work in heavy civil, which would be paving roads. I'm working for commercial construction, which is like building schools and malls and big things like that, offices, which is probably the most common, but there are a few others. Like you could also go into the residential side of construction, but basically the need for this job is as a project engineer manager. If you're working for a general contractor, basically there will be an owner who wants to build a building, and they will hire you to estimate it, to schedule it, to coordinate it, and so you will then hire people to build it. You'll hire someone who will put in like the steel framing and pour the concrete. Some of this stuff some general contractors do themselves, but a lot of it you contract out. So you have a ton of subcontractors on the job. And so your job is to sort of manage them, making sure that everything is like staying on budget, staying on the schedule, coordinating it so you have people come on site at the right time in the project, because you know you can't close up the walls if like, I don't know, you haven't done any of your plumbing, something, I don't even know. There are also things like when issues arise on the job, you will have to write a request for information. They're called RFIs. That's something that's like a big task that you'll have to do in this job. And basically you write a letter to the architect or engineer or whoever that needs to approve, let's say, a change that has to be made there. When you don't really realize it, at least I didn't realize it, but a lot of times architects and engineers, you know, hand over a set of drawings and it looks great on paper, and then you go to build it and you're like, wait, this staircase like goes right through this doorway, this makes no sense. And so when that happens, the project managers and engineers propose a way to fix it, and also have to make it approved by the engineers and the architects. Yeah, so that's just kind of like a general introduction as to the job you could get with the major. The curriculum is kind of a mix between architecture, engineering, and business, and then the construction management classes that we have. The actual construction management classes are not very hard at all. The hardest class in construction management that I took was like my introductory CM 115. If you go to Cal Poly, if you're gonna go there, that was the worst class. I had to take it twice, and I almost switched out of the major because it scared me so much, because I realized how little I knew, and I just was not prepared to, I don't know, have to like dedicate that much time towards a class, because in college, like I just hadn't, at that point, I hadn't had to like put in a ton of effort. I had been taking like kind of easy classes, and I took that class and it was 4 hours, 4 days every week, which was 16 hours, and it just like, I really didn't like it. I didn't like my teacher, and then I took it again and I ended up loving my teacher. I met like so many cool kids. Kind of a funny story, my boyfriend was actually in the class that I dropped out of. We didn't like talk, I knew who he was, but I just think it's like funny that like he was in my class, and it was like a really small class, but then like a year later we ended up being in another class together, and then yeah, that was like how we started talking. Also, you will take 5 classes of architectural engineering. I hated them so much. Like, architectural engineering is basically like statics. If you know what statics is, it's basically like, I guess, the physics of how to make things not move. Like if you have a column here and like a beam here, how to like deflect loads to make it so this doesn't fall. Like, it just like, I did not enjoy it. What was also kind of difficult were the prerequisites to get into architectural engineering classes. You had to get through Calculus 1, Calculus 2, and Physics 1. And then you had an option of taking either Physics 2 or Chemistry. I took Chemistry because I heard Physics 2 was like really hard. But I hate chemistry. I actually liked physics, but like it was so hard for me. I really liked Calculus 1 and Calculus 2. I did fail Calculus the first time though. Like, college is different, and it was hard. The best thing that I could say is like, if you fail a college class, like sign up for it again that next quarter. You can sign up for workshops, and basically it adds an extra unit, and I mean, it's not, you don't get like a grade. I think it's just like a credit, no credit. You just have to like go to them, which is good though, because it forces you to actually go because you want the credit. And I just am a learner who learns best from other students, and so that student goes to your class, and so they hear your teacher lecturing, and then they facilitate like a group of kids who are all in your class with the same teacher. And so that was super helpful, because there are also like study sessions, but those don't include like only students from your teacher, and like it's crazy how different material can be in like the same class but from different teachers and like their expectations. So I really loved workshops. But with construction management, you do get some really cool hands-on classes. Your first lab in construction management is a concrete mixing lab, and basically like you learn how to make concrete and like what goes into it. We have like a whole mixing place, and you figure out like, how do you make stronger concrete, what makes it weaker. You add like gravel, water, and cement, and then like there are different additives to add. You will take a residential class where we built a tiny home, which was really cool, like wood framed. There's not a ton of focus on residential, but that class is really cool. You learn like the basics of framing a house. In commercial construction, we kind of did a small little construction of a steel framed area and like put in a window. I kind of didn't really pay attention to that one as much. It is really cool because you get some really good hands-on experience in your CM classes. Something that I loved about construction management was we have our own computer lab, and you're able to go and like use the computers. You also get like 500 pages of free printing, which comes in handy because so many people like need to print out things for other classes, and like I was always like, oh, just send it to me, I'll print it out to you. I'll print it out for you. Probably not supposed to do that because you're supposed to just use it for your classes, but it's a nice perk. And there are probably like 25 computers in there. You do sometimes have class in there. You learn about BIM, which is Building Information Modeling, I want to say. Basically like 3D modeling, and scheduling, and just other construction tools that are online. But the lab is also a great place like to go in and study. A bunch of people hang out in there, so like every time you go in, you know you're gonna run into like your classmates. We have like a special card as a construction management major that allows us to get in, which is kind of cool. Something that I don't have a lot of experience with, but I know so many people, it is such a huge part of their construction management experience, is we have construction management competition teams. My sister has been a part of one for the past 2 years. She's also a construction management major at Cal Poly. She went to Chicago her first year and they went for like a conference. It was all paid for by the school, and then this past year she was studying in Florence, so she couldn't go, but their conference was in Georgia, I think. It basically culminates to this big competition in Reno, and a bunch of construction companies come and basically like have like a commercial team, electrical team, sustainability team. There are a bunch more, but I don't know them off the top of my head. But you go and you compete against other schools, and like you have a night where you get your problem and you spend like the whole night up answering the question, and then you present it the next day. And it's all sponsored by construction companies, and they all take you out and like buy a bunch of food and drinks. Another thing are just the clubs in general. There are some really cool clubs. We have a Women in Construction club, so that's cool if you are a female. It's nice to like network and know other girls in the major. I feel like our major is one of the most social majors, so if you're into like knowing everyone in your major, you're gonna know a ton of people and like have really fun stuff. I think we might be the only major, at least that I know of, that has like an official formal. We have like a banquet dinner, which was so fun. They have a golf tournament where you can network with companies. The job opportunities are amazing with this major. Pretty much everyone I know gets a construction internship if that was what they wanted. They're like, if you didn't have one, it was just because you didn't want one, not because you couldn't find one. Our construction management career fair was so big that we had to take it off campus because we had so many employers who were looking for people. Like my sister, after her freshman year, got an internship. I got mine after my second year because I wasn't looking for an internship my first year. But you get paid a good amount of money. I think out of all my friends, my internships always paid me more than all my friends. So if you like money, you know, they do pay very well. And then the last thing that I want to talk about that I loved about construction management was just the overall attitude in construction management. I know in a lot of majors it can be really competitive, but these are like a group of kids who love, I feel like, to work in groups. It just attracts that type of people who want to like work with other people, because that's basically what the job is working with others. And if you forgot your homework, it was very rare that someone was like, no, I'm not going to give it to you, because I know in other majors that's like a huge thing. It's super competitive and they're like, I want to be the only one to get an A. But like they were like, oh yeah, just like look at my homework, or like I'll send you my homework. Like people would help you study, and like I had people who would like go out of their way, who knew how to do something but like would show me how to do it. There's just a lot of camaraderie in our major. I'm like still pretty sad to not be there anymore. I honestly like only have good things to say about the major. I mean, I did struggle. Like I said, I almost transferred out of it at the end of my second year. I really hadn't taken that many classes in construction management. I'd taken like 3. I was kind of doing most of the prerequisites, but then once I got into my like construction management classes and I knew more of the students in my classes, I was like so obsessed with the major and just happy to be there. Yeah, so those are kind of the main things I wanted to talk about in this video. Let me know if there's something that you want to hear about that I didn't mention. I didn't really have like a guideline, but I just wrote some stuff down that I wanted to talk about. And if you have any other questions about Cal Poly, the video that I posted last week is doing pretty well. Since I have like a small channel, it's not, you know, it's not viral, but it's doing okay. If Cal Poly is something you want to hear about more, let me know and I can talk about other topics. I've gotten like a lot of messages on Instagram, which I love hearing from you guys and like helping you guys. So that's really sweet of you guys. I really like it when you message me and just like ask me questions, because it makes me feel like I'm actually helping people. Feel free to reach out. I will respond once I see your message. I hope you guys are all staying safe, and I will see you guys in my next video.